Hi everybody, I Eat Rocks here. Thank you so much for coming to my channel to watch a video. In the background here you're going to see me playing some Conquest once again on Paracel Storm. I know you're probably tired of it right now, and I swear that I play on other maps, but for some reason I just keep having some good rounds on this map, and this is some footage that I really wanted to show off. I'm actually running around playing Recon, which I either love or hate when I'm playing it, and during this round I really loved it. I got some nice kills, some nice kill assists, and I just had a ton of fun. If you play Recon well, I think it's the most rewarding class to play in the game, and I really enjoyed this round. You can see I'm using the 338 Recon as my primary. Now this is not statistically the best sniper rifle in the game. It has a pretty small magazine size of 6 rounds, and it's got its bullet velocity is a bit on the higher side, but the M98B and the SR61 beat it out, so those two weapons are a little bit better for long range. But I'm actually really liking using this gun right now, and the reasons are a little bit shallow, because the main reason is that I think this gun looks really awesome, and I also think that it sounds really cool. Now those may not be the most logical reasons to use a gun in a competitive shooter, but that's why I'm using this gun, and I'm having a ton of fun with it. One quick thing that I wanted to mention before I go on is that I do get my my weapon stats information from Synthic.com. It's a really popular site. It's really useful, and if you haven't used it, go check it out. It's pretty easy to compare different weapons, and they have some great info there. For my gadgets, I'm using the PLD, which is that portable laser designator for the Recon class. It's also an INRV rangefinder, which is really useful as well. So you'll see here later on in the match, I actually use it quite a bit to spot enemies when this map gets darker. So that I just think is one of the best gadgets to use, is the Recon class. And then I'm also running around with C4, which, to be honest, this map is not the best map for that gadget, but I always carry C4 when I'm Recon. Sometimes if you're on the B or A flags, you might run into the mobile AA because it spawns by the B flag, and then if you're really lucky, you might swim out and put some onto an attack boat. But usually when I try that, I ended up being spotted and killed, but you know, you can always give it a shot. For my sidearm here, I'm using the Rex. This is the sidearm that I always use when I'm playing Recon. It's hard hitting, it has an okay rate of fire, and I just really like it. I think it looks cool, and in real life I actually own a 357 mag, so it's kind of fun to shoot a gun that you own in real life. I don't have a Rex, but I do have a 357. So yeah, that's why I like that gun so much. A little bit of an update on my recent encounters with Battlefield 4. Since my last video, there have been a lot of server issues on the Xbox One. You can look through the server browser right now, and you can see that there's a lot of servers that are not full, that have very long queues. It was really terrible about a week ago, where you could try to join a server that was 10 people short, and the queue would be 15 people. So yeah, I don't know really what's going on with that, and I haven't really heard any official statement from DICE or EA as to what's going on there. I may have just missed it, but yeah, that's been really obnoxious to deal with lately. Other than that, the game's been running pretty much the same for me. So yeah, that's my current status with the game. But the main thing that I wanted to talk about today is things to keep in mind when you're changing from lower player counts, like you may have encountered on last gen. When you're moving up to Conquest on current gen or the PS4 or Xbox One, here are some tips that will maybe help you play a bit better. So the first thing to keep in mind is obviously that they have expanded the surface area for most maps that you play on, and there's more flags to cap and defend. And to help make that a lot more fun and enjoyable, there are a lot more vehicles on these larger player count servers. You can see that on last gen you might have 2 or maybe 3 tanks per side. I'm thinking of Golmud Railroad. That is a pretty tank heavy map. There are now 5 tanks per side. Transport helicopters, scout helicopters, attack helicopters, AA. There's just a lot more stuff to deal with. You have quad bikes, etc. So with having more vehicles, you will usually find that you'll need to have more people running AA and AT soldiers. Now I think that the AA weapons in this game are not the best. The Stinger is not very powerful. It locks on fast, it's fast firing, but I know that trying to take down a scout helicopter with one is kind of a waste of time. I find that the SRA or the RPG or SMA are much more effective at taking down helicopters. It's a little bit harder, it takes a lot more skill, but it's you hit either of those choppers, the attack chopper or the scout helicopter, dead on with any of those launchers, and it's over. So yeah, you will likely see that there's a much bigger need for engineer players. So if you're finding that your team's getting dominated by any vehicles, switch it up and play engineer. And that seems like a really obvious thing to say, but I think we've all played rounds where our team's been getting just demolished by vehicles and no one seems to be doing anything about it. Now, having just mentioned that there's a higher need for engineers on a lot of maps in this game, just having 32 players on your team allows you to have more flexibility in the class that you run. When I played Battlefield 3 on the Xbox 360, unless you were playing on Metro or Grand Bazaar or maybe Sen Crossing, there were a lot of times that you didn't really feel like it was appropriate to play any class other than engineer, or I always like to play support for C4 to have anti-vehicle capabilities. But running assault is always useful, but running recon was really obnoxious. If you had a lot of recon players on your team, it usually meant that your team was going to lose. Now, I've found that on Battlefield 4, playing on these higher player count servers, that I have a lot more freedom in what class I play. If I want to play recon, I don't have to feel bad about it. I know that I'm not going to be quite as effective as I would if I were playing engineer or assault or even support against personnel, but I can hang back off of flags, stay on the periphery, and take down targets. So I've found that I don't feel like I know I have to play this class on this map. So that's just something great. But if you ever find that your team's getting dominated by infantry, then it's time to play assault probably. If your team's getting dominated by vehicles, it's time to play something with anti-vehicle capabilities. And it's been great that they've given C4 to recon, so now that's both support and recons have that anti-vehicle capability, but of course engineer is the most effective at that. And engineer is also the only class that can repair vehicles, so you have to keep your vehicles alive at the same time. So those are just some broad class things that I've noticed. A few tips when you're capping flags. If they're in Battlefield 3 or in lower ticket count servers, a lot of times if you kind of lone wolfed it behind the main encounters that usually happen on the main roadways on any map, then you could go cap a flag pretty easily by yourself. I'm thinking of like Caspian Border. In these higher ticket count servers, it is possible to do that, but it's a lot less common. Just because there are so many more players on the enemy team. And I found that a lot of times trying to do that and just walk into a base and cap it is not effective in any way. So I found myself hanging around the approach of flags an awful lot more in Battlefield 4 with these high ticket count servers, and spending a lot more time kind of culling the herd that is spawning in that base. And that kind of seems like an obvious thing too, but it's something that I actually had to give, you know, purposeful thought into, considering I need to take my time and to take out these targets. The other thing is, you should always run with your squad. Another obvious thing that's a Battlefield cliche almost at this time, but playing by yourself with so many enemies is usually not a good idea. So definitely attack flags with your teammates and take your time getting to the flag. Don't rush in there and have the enemy spawn and kill you. Another change in Battlefield 4 that I wanted to talk about were issues related to Commander. Now, if you're the squad leader in your squad, make sure that you're following Commander instructions. You get points, Commander gets points, your squad gets points. It's just good for everybody. And hopefully your Commander is actually giving you orders that are going to move the battle to where it needs to go. The other thing to be remembering with Commander is to always remember that you could be on the minimap at any time. There have been times where I've done long flanks and thought that I was golden and going to get a bunch of kills, only to be turned on at the last second, and I know it was because I was spotted by the Commander. So honestly, in my opinion, that's something that I don't really like about this game. But you have to be cognizant of it, and you have to be aware that you could be on the minimap at any time. And then a quick follow-up on that: when I've been playing Commander, I've lit up every enemy around, guys, and had them just totally miss them. So yeah, this video is already over. I ran out of time. Thank you so much for coming by. If you watched this whole thing, you're awesome. I really appreciate the support. Please share it with your friends. Yeah, I'm really enjoying doing this, so thank you again, and I hope that you have a good one. I'll catch you on the next one.